when I first came, no one like me was here. I remember going to the auction with me, and I was the only guy that didn't speak Spanish at the auction. So I think for years and years, from 2008 through like 2018 or 19, it was an exodus. Everybody was leaving to the States, looking for a better opportunity. And now for the last at least few years, the better opportunity is here. Everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Robbie Craig of the Flip Flop Flipper, and today I'm here with my friend Raul Villanueva. He is the outstanding Remax agent on the island, and one of the first 6 people that I met on the island that we started doing deals with. So I talk about a lot how we got started in Puerto Rico, offering up to people who were bringing us deals the opportunity to invest with us. And Raul took us up on that, and then we did several deals now over the course of the last 6 years. We were even looking at something today, but we'll get into that. We'll talk about a whole bunch of stuff. Raul, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business and how you're doing in this real estate world in Puerto Rico.
Thank you, Robbie. My name is Raul Villanueva. Actually, what's called a New Yorican, born and raised in New York, 30 years. My parents were from Camuy and Lares. And basically, they emigrated to New York in 1947. They lived 50 years in New York. Retired, came back, enjoyed the island. So I was always raised the local culture, visiting family. My vacation every summer, 2 weeks, was not going to Europe or on cruises. It was going to Puerto Rico to visit family.
Yeah.
And that was always instilled in me. So that's how I became very familiar with the island, coming here since I was a baby.
When did you move back to the island? I know you were in New York, then you were working in Florida for a while, and then you moved back to the island, I think right before I got to the island.
Yes, well, in New York, I used to work with Xerox in the copier business almost 20 years. Mm-hmm. And then my wife and I left New York in 2002 to 2011 in Florida. So we came here in 2012.
Okay. So now you've been here 12 years.
Yeah, 12 years, and we've seen the good, the bad, the ugly, everything.
That's exactly where I was going with that. So in 12 years, you've seen the island be in, I would call it full-on recession for a lot of that time. And then only like the last 5 or 6 years has it started to come out of. And you were telling me, like, just as you sat down, you're like, hey, driving in, I saw these cranes and I saw this construction going on. How has that changed the island?
Yeah, well, looking back now, I mean, I remember, we've been through hurricanes, earthquakes, political unrest, if you remember.
I do.
All the craziness. And over the last few years, I've seen a lot of dynamic shifts on the island. Driving in here, it's always great to see cranes because that means construction, development, a robust economy. Yeah. So right down the road, you see that. I see some new high-rise condominiums, a couple that are coming up in Condado, which is always good to see. We've seen a big shift.
That's a big metric that I use to do exactly what you said, judge how well the economy is doing. When I came to Puerto Rico, one of the things that was extremely noticeable was the lack of things that were being built. Like there was one crane on the island to do whatever construction there was, and basically no one was building anything, and no one had been building anything for a decade. It was full-on recession at the time. The lights were still off when I got here, and part of what my thesis was is that, as time went on, because there was going to be so much money coming to the island through the recovery from the storm and through insurance, and then it turns out the island did a really good job of bringing investment capital to the island as well through the tax incentives that they've got. But part of our investment thesis was that, 4, 5, 6 years down the road, you'd start to see cranes in the skyline. You'd start to see things being built. So that's nice to see something that kind of came true. I think in business we have times where we think things are going to happen and they don't always happen. But in this case, I got that one right. So
yeah, things take time, especially in the Caribbean. We're an island, so a little bit more island time. Yeah. But eventually we get there. And, I see great things for Puerto Rico. Very excited. I've always said this should be, the Hawaii of the Caribbean, if not better. So
I know we'll get some hate for calling it the Hawaii of the Caribbean because we do get that.
Or Singapore. Let's say
the
Singapore.
Expense of the housing
Caribbean
and stuff like that. People will think that the investors are here to ruin the whole place.
Well, there's a lot of misinformation. I get some of that too. Some of my posts. Since I've branched out to New York now, I'm expanding my business, Puerto Rico and New York. I've put some posts up on my pages, and, it says, it's only in English. I go, I apologize. Let me put it in English and Spanish. You're right for that. But then they go on further. It gets a little more deeper. And, I tell everyone, look, we're professionals in the industry, so we cannot discriminate. against anyone. It's a code of ethics, being in the industry. So basically, you get some of that feedback. And at the end of the day, it's unfortunate, but I look at it as just, that's sad. It's discrimination. It's kind of the same discrimination, my parents faced when they emigrated to New York in the 1940s,
Yeah.
So
it's an interesting, we live in interesting times, right? Like,
yeah, it's the world we live in.
Who knew that this would be the way that it would go? But let's get back onto your business. You do an excellent job of meeting people who are coming to the island, either people who have left the island and are coming home, like your parents and like yourself, or people like me who are coming to the island. In fact, you're one of the very first people that I met on the island.
That's
right.
And
I talk about you on the channel quite a bit, where I talk about those 6 people who were bringing me deals right when I first came, and I offered up, hey, would you invest in them with me? And you took me up on it.
Correct.
And we did what, a couple dozen deals? I don't even know.
Yeah,
it's been more than a dozen deals that we've done though.
Yeah, we wound up doing some fix and flips and fix and rents.
And you helped me to buy some bank packages from the show back in the day.
Yeah, that's when we first met.
We bought an incredible piece of land in Naguabo that we just happened to be driving down the road, and you were in front of me, and you pulled over onto this path to the beach and said, hey, this was for sale one time.
Yeah.
And we ended up buying that and making a great deal with some seller financing there.
Absolutely.
We've had some good times. We've had some fun together.
Yeah, some interesting times. And going back to Naguabo, I think moving forward, that the markets of San Juan, Rincon, and Dorado have literally blown up.
Yeah.
So I think those are the future up-and-coming areas, where there's still lots of opportunities are ripe.
Yeah.
Naguabo, Yabucoa, Patillas, all these local towns that are getting that effect.
Hi.
Good morning. We are in Naguabo, Puerto Rico, the southeast corner of the island. This is an oceanfront land opportunity, 10 acres, oceanfront. Available for sale. For development, I am here today taking pictures and video for a client that I am co-broking with. Lynn Hart from St. Louis has a client from Canada. And let me just take you up on the beach, on the surf here. So here we have 10 acres. I was told by the owner that it is 9 acres, and I think there's an extra acre on the other side of the main road there. There's a bridge and a river right there, but it consists of 10 acres oceanfront. Ideal for development of some type of commercial property, possibly hotel/resort.
What kind of trends are you seeing on the island right now?
Well, on the island, I'm seeing there's still, believe it or not, there's still luxury that's being sold. I have a colleague at the office just sold a $3 million house in Palmas del Mar for mainlanders that moved to the island.
Yeah.
I'm seeing still investors. I just had an investor the other day from Kansas City come to the island, and I showed him some things in San Juan, but he preferred Rincon. He has that preference of surf and sunsets, and prefers the West Coast. And I'm happy for him because he was able to find a really nice property through another agent on the West Coast.
What kind of property?
It was a multifamily property close to the beach. Probably, I think it was listed about $450 or something like that. Needs some work, but he's experienced with that. He has some really nice Airbnb property in Belize, and always liked Puerto Rico. And now he wants to get his feet wet investing here.
Yeah.
So there's still investors coming to the island, especially when you have some of the incentives of opportunity zone and tourism. I'm also seeing the group of investors that I met, 7 years ago when we met. Well, those investors took advantage. They bought, they invested, they fixed, they flipped, they rented. They started cash flowing. So at this point, some of those investors have chosen to sell off some of their lower income portfolio,
Right.
and move on to other things, other
Right.
investments like coffee plantations or farms or hotels, resorts. And I'm really happy and excited to see that recently we were given about 8 multifamilies. And in about a month and a half, we sold 5 all cash transactions. All the buyers are local entrepreneurs under 30,
Okay.
which is great to see.
No, that's amazing. I'd like to talk more about that. So you're seeing the trend right now is that there is a group of local investors that's growing, and they're young and they're excited about buying this kind of product, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, because they've heard what's going on, so they want to participate.
Yeah.
Young entrepreneurs that have, a lot of these entrepreneurs have lived in New York, Europe, and they come back with these great ideas and concepts.
Yeah.
And they'll open up a hipster coffee shop or a food truck on wheels or a barber shop in a bus or something. And
Barbershop in a bus.
yeah, I've seen
Nice.
it.
Yeah.
So they're very great vision and very creative.
Yeah.
So they're doing well with these businesses. A lot of these are cash businesses or
Yeah.
what the case may be. And they're hearing. They would say, "I want to invest. I want to build up that passive income."
We're seeing that now too. So I think the first few years we saw a lot of people like me coming. When I first came, no one like me was here. Remember going to the auction with me, and I was the only guy that didn't speak Spanish at the auction. And now that has changed a little bit. But what we're seeing as well is that the young population of entrepreneurs that are tied to the island, that are actually locals, that have maybe gone to the States, gone to college, made some money, and they're coming back because there's an opportunity here where there just wasn't, right? Like, so I think for years and years from 2008 through like 2018 or 19, it was an exodus. Everybody was leaving to the States looking for a better opportunity. And now for the last at least few years, the better opportunity is here. The easy way to see, like you said, people who are coming from New York, their money goes much further here. There's a higher floor and a much higher ceiling when you are looking at real estate investing here on the island.
Absolutely correct. Plus, you throw in lower property taxes, lower cost of living on a lot of things. Not all things, but many things.
And right now with those young entrepreneurs who are buying these multifamilies, at least for another year or so, and maybe hopefully it'll get extended, but earning your money through long-term rental is a non-taxable event on the island of Puerto Rico. So I don't know if you're letting those guys know that, but if they buy an 8-family house and it throws off $5,000 a month, that revenue that they're getting, they don't have to pay tax on that.
Correct.
Now that statute's scheduled to end at the end of 2025, but it got extended last time. So it was going to end in 2020. It extended to 25. So hopefully it'll extend again. Who knows? It's a political year.
Right.
There's a good chance it gets extended, I think. Right. I don't know if you've heard anything about it.
No, I haven't. About the extension. I've heard about the incentive, but I haven't heard about the extension.
Yeah, and this is one incentive that it's automatic. You don't have to jump through hoops. It's not like Act 60 or tourism. It's not a rebate or a refund. It's not something that you have to apply for. It's just something that is. And so anybody who has this kind of revenue for the last several years hasn't had to pay tax on that revenue.